iHeart TUBI Movie Podcast, aka the Movie Plug. I am here with Winston Gay, and we're going to be asking him some questions today. He is a videographer for a lot of different movies, and we're going to ask him some questions today. Okay, so the first question I have for you. Okay, so what is your background in film?
Okay, well, my background is I've been doing film and video since I got out of college in 2003, um, and I started making like little short films, stuff that you would see on YouTube. This is before YouTube, but stuff you would see on YouTube, little like just videos of like there was a show called 24 years ago. You ever seen that before? Um,
Yes.
I made like a fake version of 24. I had a show called Boom TV, where I was basically playing like a guy who was like a fake I think the guy's name was Jack Bauer or something like that. I was playing like a black version of Jack Bauer, just arresting the wrong people all the time.
Oh.
Harassing people that were foreigners and stuff, and thinking they were somebody they weren't. It was kind of like it was like a spoof on it. And in 2012 is when I started my own. I started working for myself doing video and graphic because I also do graphic design. Okay, so I'm able to do like the posters and things like that for a lot of the stuff that I do. So I started basically filming for like different events. Like there's people. I'm in Philadelphia, so we have a lot of people that have performing arts schools and places like that have events, like an hour and a half events where they're doing like Lion King or any kind of play you could think of, Annie, stuff like that. So me and another friend of mine is actually in this movie we're making right now. We would come, we were both videographers, we would film stuff. And I'd take the stuff back, I'll edit. Um, and I worked on a few films outside of client work, but not a ton, but just a few films with different people. As I was saying earlier, one of the biggest ones I worked on was called Home. I'm not going to say the name of the director, of the producer, but that film, some of the things that were going on in the movie I didn't agree with. I actually came up with the idea for the movie, pitched it to these people who were doing plays in the city. They've been doing plays for over 20 years, and I said, this is a good idea. And we worked out a script, and but they did some things I didn't agree with, which I don't want to go too much into, and it caused me to part from that movie. But yeah, I've done a few things. I have not worked with Hollywood. I'm not going to sit there and lie. I work with Hollywood, all kinds of stuff. I haven't done that. But most of my work has been client work, videos, music videos, doing people's YouTube pages, all kind of stuff. Just creating personas to a degree for people and just filming. All kinds of stuff. Birthday parties, churches, all kinds of stuff. I've done it all. Weddings, done it all. Funerals, done it all.
Oh wow! I didn't know they had videographers for funerals.
Oh yeah. I think I just did
Okay.
one not too long ago. Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be a little creepy. I don't know if I want to
I
do
don't.
that.
Yeah, don't come to the body and like start filming and like, can you say something?
Oh,
Can you say
okay,
something?
yeah.
I'm doing with that.
I do
Yeah,
something
but
for the camera. Okay, so you said you did the movie Home, like the one with Rihanna?
no, this is a home that you probably never heard of.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a different home. Yeah, it's a different home.
okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. It's a different.
Okay. Okay, so what does it take to get a movie on Tubi, or do you know that? Because is it like the movie producer that gets it on there, right? You just work with them?
There's a site I can't think of the name at the moment, but there's a site that you have to what's the name of this site? I cannot think of, but it's a site where you put. It's not that hard. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure you can kind of tell.
It doesn't seem like it,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's it's a certain website that you go to, and you basically upload your movie to it. Okay, and it benefits Tubi because if it's up there and it's not good, well then hey, people probably want to find it on Tubi. Let's say search for it, know the name. But if it's good,
Mhm.
Tubi makes money from it. They cut you some in the check. But it's a site that basically is like an aggregate of different content, okay? And from there, Tubi picks, and not just Tubi, but other sites. They will pick from this site. It's like a few sites, not a ton of them, but a few sites. And they just pick from there. I can't think of the name at the moment. I don't want to look at my phone because that'll take me out of here. But it's a site that you can easily find. If you just search how to get movie on Tubi, they'll probably tell you where to go. But it's not directly with Tubi; it's through this other site.
Okay. And how long does it take to like shoot a movie? It's obviously it's less expensive, right? If you take less time.
I thought you were gonna say something about. I thought you were gonna say obviously not. I thought you were gonna say obviously it doesn't take a long time if you're shooting some of the stuff that you've been commenting on.
Yeah. Yeah, they
But,
definitely want to take as little time as possible, it seems.
I heard you say a comment one time where you said these people don't believe in doing retakes. They just say, look, one shoot, that's
Yeah, because yeah, you're a videographer, so is it a problem with doing retakes? Is that why they do that, or do you feel like they're doing it on purpose?
yeah. Well, let me get back to what you were saying first. You said how long does it take? It depends, and that goes into the retake thing. It depends on what you know. Do you want to take retakes? Are you going to, number one, there if you look into big Hollywood producers and stuff. I mean, or not producers, excuse me, directors. Um, Sometimes, for example, on the movie Die Hard and other movies, people have taken sometimes 80 takes. I heard that the director M. Night Shyamalan, he was doing something. There was like ton of takes, maybe like 70, 80 takes for stuff. It depends on like what's going on, what's happening. Me personally, we've been shooting this film, for example, since the summertime, right? I mean, since like the beginning of June, I believe. Okay, we've been shooting all summer. It's a movie that takes place, in the summertime. Um, Me, the way I shoot, the way I have things going, I kind of have people kind of rehearse right before something, and I'll say, okay, that's right. The tone is right. What you're saying is right. These are points we need to hit, and we'll do a few takes. I always say I take 2 takes of every good take, just in case something goes wrong, and we kind of go from there. Most movies, Hollywood movies or movies in general, usually take 3 months to shoot. So that's answering the question. Usually, just take 3 months to shoot if it's a 2-hour movie. Um, Tyler Perry has made. I heard that he made a movie within 1 week.
24 hours, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
24
he said
hours.
24 hours. Yeah, he says he tries to do his movies in 24 hours.
That's
Yeah.
beyond me. That's something that is a Guinness World Record. I never heard nobody do that. Unless I mean, if it's a movie
Mm.
like it was a movie that came out years ago called Buried with Ryan Reynolds. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. That was an entertaining movie. If you guys ever seen it, it's called Buried. He's like in a like a casket or something like that. He was like in Iraq or whatever, and he ends up being captured by some terrorists, and he's in the casket. They're trying to get ransom from him. So the whole movie's he's just in the casket trying to call for help. It is like you would think they would be corny, but the movie is very entertaining. But if that's something I can see you shooting maybe within like a day or so, possibly. But I don't know. I gotta look that up when I could offer and see how he was able to pull it off. Robert Townsend, you guys know Robert Townsend. Um, he shot a movie, I think, within a short amount of time, and he only shot on the weekends, really. And he got Paul Mooney and all them guys to come out and shoot. And like for me, we shoot like 5 days a week, and it still take. We've been shooting since June. We still ain't done. We about to be done in this month of October. So it takes a lot of work, and we don't even have also the Hollywood has. But one thing that Hollywood has over like independent people is they can shoot all day long. You know what I mean? That's why they got them trailers and stuff because people shoot it all day. They shoot 12 hours, like it's nothing. We're shooting a few hours, and we're just looking at the script, seeing different scenes we need to shoot, and say, okay, we got this done, we got that done, we got that done. But yeah, most Hollywood movies take 3 months to shoot on average.
Okay, but that's because they have a higher budget, so they're able to do that, right? Or is it just it's more?
Well, not necessarily.
What
No, it's
is
not
it?
about the. I want to say it's about the budget. It's just if it's 2 hours, it's just the amount of scenes that most movies average. Different scenes that you have. It does take time because you have to factor in, um, just getting things right with the director, getting the shots right, and then it's a time of day that you have. At the end of the day, it just usually comes out to that. For something that's 2 hours, there's an hour. The movie it could take less. Like I said with Tyler Perry, um, I haven't watched some of his stuff in a while. I'm not going to sit here and lie, but I know there was a movie that he came out with some time ago. It's a movie where people were complaining that people's hair, they had like a bunch of, I guess nowadays a lot of people say that his movies, he has people with wear like wigs and stuff. But it's a movie he made a few years ago I know he shot it in a week. I can't remember what it was called, but I know it was a movie where, remember the movie where he made where there was a white guy in the background. They were in like a diner somewhere. There was a white guy in the background, and people were saying he was an extra, and they said that he was looking at the camera and getting more attention. If you remember that movie, I can't think of the name of the movie.
I don't remember that movie.
Yeah, but it was a that if y'all know what I'm talking about, it was that movie where the guy was sitting there, they were like the restaurant, there was a guy, an extra in the background, he was looking at him. And I was watching, before I even seen it, I was looking at before I seen people talk about, I was watching it, I was like, why the extra looking at the camera? So he trying to get on. And that I know he shot in a week. So like something like that, for example, that movie had a bunch of errors in my opinion. Then even though Tyler Perry is a very good director, but I'm like, he didn't see that because they were shooting so quick. It's really because the thing is, and this is something I'm glad I just thought of. Movies take a lot of time to check. You got to do a lot of checking. That's what sometimes people who make TUBI movies don't have. Either they don't want to do it, either they don't want to do
Yeah,
it,
that
or
probably
they
could
just
be it.
right. Like the time you had the video where the couple were in the car, and you saw you said, "Look, the cameraman can obviously be seen
Yes.
in the glasses." Like that's something that a person that's not checking would not see because if
Right.
you're in front of the computer looking through a timeline, looking at stuff, a lot of times, especially with lower budget stuff, you're looking through a timeline. That's where all the video footage is. You're looking through that timeline and you're scrubbing through it. And a lot of times those things are of a lower resolution because computers usually reduce the resolution in the timeline when you have a lot of footage so that the computer can run more smoothly. So everything is already kind of sometimes lowered the resolution already. Then if you're just going fast, you're trying to get something done, you're trying to get a movie done in a week, you're not going to be looking into somebody's glasses. Me, I'm filming. I'm looking for everything that could go wrong. If I it was like a month ago, I was shooting a woman in West Philly, and she had some gold earrings, and the gold earrings were a reflective surface, and I filming her, and I was like, oh, hold up, and I had to look closely, and I was like, okay, well, I can see myself in those earrings. So me, I personally try to do on-site editing. I try to because I'm also editor, so I'm not just. Some people are just directors. Some people are directors and editors. Like, I'm both, so I know that would be a problem. If I was just a director, I would have filmed that, and then the editors would have been like, you couldn't really see that, but when we blow this film up on a 50-foot screen, people can clearly see a cameraman in those earrings. You know what I mean? So I'm like looking for stuff like that. Sometimes people's eyeballs, the actual eyeball can be a reflective surface. If the camera's too close, you can actually see you know what I mean? There's little stuff that you need to check. Checking takes a lot of time, not just while you're editing, but when you're done, you need to then do more checking and more checking. And checking takes time. And when you don't check, you get moves with a bunch of errors, people's hands cropped out, all kind of stuff. That's when you get that type of stuff, when you don't want to spend the time to check. So Tyler Perry, I will say this, that for some of the stuff he's put out within a week, or you said 24 hours, it's surprising that he doesn't have, in my opinion, more errors than that. But I guess it could be how he does it. He has his own studios. He has a very controlled environment. That's what. So I can understand why he made his own Hollywood, so to speak, in Atlanta. I can understand why he would do that because you can control the environment, which a independent artist is much harder to do, to control your environment. When you can do that, there's no variables. There's nobody walking behind you. There's not someone in the background giving you the finger or saying, "Are y'all shooting a movie?" You know what I mean, or something like that. The dumpster that you won't see there, or somebody in the background just staring in the camera that you may not notice, and then when you're like, "Oh man, this person's staring in the camera," so I got to crop them out. So you're watching a TUBI movie and you see the main person is all out the shot. You wondering why? It's because you know what I mean, something that you didn't understand, which is that person was staring a bystander was staring into the camera. You know what I mean, or something like that. So that's kind of. But like I said before, what was the question again? You asked me, how long does it take to make a movie? We still on that question?
How long does it
Okay.
take to shoot a movie? Like, is it expensive? Is that why they kind of just rush through it? But also, do you learn that in, like, what is it, videography school or media school that you may have went to? Do you learn to, like, make sure they are not wearing sunglasses, or there's a mirror showing you, or I mean, do
Right.
you kind of learn that along the way?
I went to school for animation, but I learned videography there also. And videography and animation are closely intertwined because there are certain types of animation, such as stop motion and just the other types of animation that require cameras. But they do teach you, from what I've experienced, they do teach you certain things. They didn't teach us a lot of that stuff when it comes to checking for that stuff. I don't think some film schools do, but I think that they could probably look at it like you should kind of know that. Like you should look for that in the first place because that can happen in a variety of ways. Looking for reflective surfaces. You don't want that's like almost like film 101, like the basics. Make sure the cameraman is not in the shot. Like make sure
Mm.
the cameraman is not seen. But they could tell. You know, a lot. They could tell 1,000 people that. I'm sure a lot of people on Tubi that have had those type of issues. A lot of them probably did go to some type of film school, but um, just being careful. You know what I mean? I will say this too to add on to that. Sometimes when people are filming, especially like lower end movies, not to say a lower end movie is in any way worse than the Hollywood movie or whatever. I'm just saying that sometimes people are shooting lower end movies. Um, they're dealing with their friends, they're dealing with people like that, and it's kind of an attitude where you're kind of buddy buddy. So what happens is that if something is, let's say I say, "Hey, Adrian, I want you to film this movie with me." You say, "Okay," and we cool. And then, for example, I want you to say something with a certain tone, and you're of the wrong tone, or just doing something off. Because we so buddy buddy, I may not really be like, "Look, I want you to do this." I may say, "I want you to do this way, Adrian." You may say, "Well, all right," and you get kind of ticked off. Now I'm just kind of standoffish, like, "Well, I want him to get her mad. She my friend." But the thing is, to be a director, you gotta know the tone that you want, and you have to demand it. You have to like be almost like a drill sergeant. And if you are like that, knowing what you have to have, things that separates Hollywood from, my opinion, amateurs. Or I shouldn't say Hollywood because Hollywood. I'm not gonna say Hollywood is the pinnacle, but it separates the professional from the amateur. That's a better way of saying it. Is um, just being strict and sticking to your guns with what you have, knowing what you want, knowing what you're trying to get out of this picture, and then sticking to that. Not being buddy buddy, not being too friendly. What I mean, it being hard. Being hard is something that sometimes when you with your buddies, and with folks that you don't maybe not trying to offend, people don't want to do. And when you're not hard, films become very uneven. You have one actor that's very, very good, one performance is very, very good, and then one performance that's very, very bad. And you're watching the movie and you're like, something's just not right. And at
Yeah.
first watch, you don't know what it is, but it's a variety, can be a variety of things.
Yeah, I understand that because sometimes I watch Tubi movies and I'm like, that must be somebody's cousin because they just let them do whatever in that movie. I'm like, that's their cousin. They don't want to hurt their feelings or something.
Like I saw a movie years ago. This is before I was too hard on movies. This is like years ago. And I like Spike Lee. He's one of my favorite directors of all time. But I saw a movie. If you ever seen it, it's called Red Hook Summer.
No, I've
I
never
ain't,
seen it.
I ain't even finish it, but he made this movie years ago, and I got all respect for Spike Lee. But if you check his movie, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. I guarantee you that. He had this young girl in this movie, right? And this girl, in my opinion, could not act for her to say her acting was so bad it took me right to film. And I saw her, I said, that must be his niece. This girl could not act. Every time she opened her mouth, it was you'd be like, you'd be like, you just feel like, oh no, like it made me feel uncomfortable every time she talked, just because of her acting was so bad. And I was like, it's no way you couldn't have seen that, right? There's no way you could have not noticed that. But yeah, so you gotta be strict on folks, and you know, I've filmed with people that have experience with video and so on and so forth, and they feel like, oh, I know what I'm doing. Or they may feel sometimes what happens, this is another thing you can run into as a filmmaker, for those watching that are filmmakers, is that sometimes people that you're filming, they can feel like, well, I know the vision that you have, I kind of can get it. And then when you're saying we're gonna do it this way, they're like, no, this is a better way. And you gotta start saying, no, it's not a better way, you gotta do it this way. Okay. And they may disagree, but when they look at the final project, they see how everything connects, because it's a job of the director to have an understanding of how everything's supposed to connect and tie together, like in a perfect way, like a tapestry. You're like kind of making a perfect tap. It's almost like when women, I don't know how to do this, but my sister knows how to do it. For example, she knows how to I think it's called crocheting and stuff, all that
Yes,
crocheting
yes.
and doing that. When I see people do that, I say to myself, how do you do that? Like, there's nothing there. You're able to create these big, things. That's what being a director is like. You have to have it in your mind, but you know what I mean? And you can't see it, but you kind of just know it and it just comes out. But if you listen to everybody around you or not strict, you'll have something that looks terrible. Nobody want to look at, nobody want to wear it. You know what I mean? So it's just like that, in my opinion.
Okay, and have you ever worked on any projects where you're like filming them and you're just like, this is horrible. Like, this is a really bad movie. You should not drop this. I don't want my name on this. And like, how did you deal with that? Or you just kind of remain professional?
Well, I will say is I have not been on a film or a project. Well, I have been on things where I've had to stop and leave, but not a movie. I've been on a movie where I'll say this. I'll say this. I did a movie before. I filmed a movie before where where the what they ended up doing was is the movie I was filming for example. I'm trying to clear my thoughts. I'm sorry, y'all. There's a movie where I was actually the director, right? And the director, as we were filming the movie, and I didn't even start directing yet. We were getting ready. We were getting ready, film the movie and everything. We get everything ready. We just had all the actors come for like to test the actors out, whatever. I forget why we were doing this, but we had everyone ready. We were doing actor selection. That's what we were doing. Okay, and I remember that they ended up switching out me as a director with another guy who was from Hollywood. I think he worked on the Avengers. Um, this guy who was the producer, who was a guy who I knew was famous in the city. He said, "Well, I want to bring this guy in because he's from Hollywood and Winston. You're not from Hollywood, so we'll choose him." The only problem is that this guy only did special effects. He was not a director. He was not a videographer. At that point, I was probably doing video for at least 10 years. Okay, so the guy comes in. He's using a camera that's really not that great. Um, and he's filming. We went to this house around 7 p.m. We were there till like 4 or 5 a.m. for one scene. And the scene had people saying like 5 lines. And I was like, you're taking 8 hours to shoot this easy scene? But the guy he didn't have any experience. And the producer was like, it doesn't matter. He's from Hollywood. I'm like, it doesn't matter. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm watching the whole time. I'm like, just thinking to myself, like, I could have been done this so fast. But y'all want to switch me out with this guy. And look what you have. You know what I mean? And the movie actually, last time I heard the movie didn't even get finished. Didn't even get finished. And I thought, like, I was just surprised. But not a lot of films have I done or projects like that because usually I try to vet and figure out what I'm doing before I even start it, so I know I'm not getting something that I want to leave. I mean, because I'm the kind of person I don't like breaking my word, so I really try not to get into something where it's kind of like shaky. I was there's another time I was filming a TV. It was like a show. It wasn't a film necessarily, but it was a TV show, and I was the director and the producer of the show. Kept trying to direct over me. And that was causing a problem. The show was very good, but he kept on trying to override my authority when it comes to directing. And I was making the show was like a comedy to a degree. It was like a church comedy to a degree. And he kept on trying to say, well, this will be funny, this will be funny. He didn't know what he was doing, in my opinion. So it messed the tone of the show up. So the people be watching episodes and it just wasn't funny. And the views start going down. And I was like, so then finally I was just like, look, man, I can't do this anymore. You know what I mean? It was kind of because of that, but I haven't gotten in something where I was in it and it was just awful, from the very beginning. I was just like, what did I do? I try to be more careful so I don't end up in that situation. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. So really, it sounds like the reason that a lot of projects take a long time is because people are constantly disagreeing with each other. Is that what's happening?
It's a variety of reasons why projects take a long time. Like for example, I'm moving right now, right? We started shooting in June. Can I say the name of the movie? Am I able to say that?
Yeah.
It's called The Golden Dragonfly. Should be coming out in 2025. I've got to put that plug in there real quick. But anyway, we started shooting in June. Okay. I was very strict on everybody. We got to get this thing done because it's a summer movie. If we don't get this done, we won't have to wait till next year for certain things because certain things are supposed to be in the summertime. We can't just try to do some slick
Mm.
stuff and try to say, oh, well, it's snowing outside or it's cold outside. I want y'all to see out with t-shirts and 40-degree weather. We're not going to do that. It has to be because even people in the background or other things won't fit right. So we got to get this done over the summer. So it's been times where I've had people. For example, I had a woman who's supposed to act for me a few weeks ago, and when it was time to film, she this actually is a good example. When I think about it, it was time to film. I hit her up like a day before, and I said, "You ready to film this day?" And she said, "Yes." It was like let's say I hit her up on Tuesday. You ready to film Wednesday? She said, "Yes." Okay, Wednesday comes. I said, "Meet us downtown." Now, instead of her being downtown, she says, "Oh, I'm working, but I'll be off at this time. I'll be able to make it." I said, "Okay, great." Then she says, "You know what? I don't feel like." I don't know where I should park it. I said, "Park here. You can easily park here." She said, I want to park there. I said, well, park here and catch a train and come downtown because there's not a lot of parking downtown anyway. She says, okay. Then she hits me back, texts me back. She texts me back and says, oh, basically, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go back home. I'll probably be late, so I can't make it. This is an actual actor because on our movie, we have people that are actors and actually not actors. Okay. I don't know how to direct a person that's a non-actor to even be able to act well. So, or models, people that are just not necessarily actors. So I was like, you're an actor and you don't want to. She basically said she didn't want to park somewhere because if she parked there, she would get caught in rush hour traffic coming back. Because in my city, it's like a lot of rush hour traffic is crazy. So I'm like, because of that, you don't want to film. So I replaced. How did I do this? I actually cut her whole role out. Okay, and I said, well, because she was talking to me for a while, I didn't want to cut her from the film completely. I said, well, maybe I'll use you another way. So I kind of just, all right, we're going to change the script a little bit. And it ended up being better, thank God. And then it's like, I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to cut her out completely because that kind of messed the film, that film up. And it, well, I'm not going to say it messed it up, but it made things hard for us, I should say. Okay. It made things harder for us overall. And because she was an actor I never filmed with, I actually was trying to have a backup. I had a backup just in case she didn't make it. But the backup also called out. The backup said that they wanted to do it, and they were begging to be in it. And then at the end of it, they said that the roles seemed to be too small for them. And because of that, they wanted basically, and I understood what they were saying. They're saying that basically like they were cast as side characters too much, and they're not trying to be typecast as a side character all the time. So they're trying to do more main roles. And I'm like, I understand. Only thing is, you told me you wanted to do this, and now we're here time in the film, and you just telling me this reason your reasoning for not want to do it now on the very day we're supposed to film. So it's things it's a lot of unexpected things that can happen when you're filming. So when I watch certain movies, and I don't watch a lot of Tubi movies, I ain't gonna lie. But when I watch them, I do have an understanding of like things that are going on. I can say, okay, well, this probably happened like this. I watched a movie one time years ago on Tubi, and I don't know if you saw the movie, but it was a movie, I forget what it was called. It was like a church movie. And the sound at times would be like ADR, it would be like live sound. There'll be sound in the studio. You could tell it's just switching back and forth, back and forth. And I could tell they probably, you know, they maybe had wind they didn't expect or noise they didn't expect. So the director just said, look, let's just go into the studio and record that sound over again. But it was extremely obvious that that sound was recorded somewhere else. So it sounded awful. It sounded so awful. But it was like that from the producer or director's point of view, they probably said, "Look, let's just get this thing done. It don't really matter. Let's just get it done." Me, the movie that we're making right now, we're pushing to get it in theaters. Okay, we're gonna make a deal with
Oh,
yeah, we're gonna make a deal with their theaters because they do a 50-50 split. So we're gonna do a deal with them to get a small run, and then from there, if we believe it'll do good, we'll get more theaters. Okay, and then finance all that, then we'll do the streaming stuff. But if I were to have the mindset of, let's just get it done. All right, let's just get it done. I wouldn't be able to approach AMC or anybody else or Regal with the movie saying, look, this is the major motion picture because there'll be a ton of errors in it. And they'll be like, this ain't even a B-level movie. We're not gonna take that. This ain't even fit for Tubi, you know what I mean? So that's something that, or like the other day, me and my man, we shot a scene where he was playing handball in this park. And I realized that the camera we were shooting with had a better setting to shoot and to shoot nighttime scenes. So I said, you know what? We need to shoot. I told him today, I said, we're going to shoot that scene again because I can make it look more clear. I mean, it looked good, but it could look much more clear if we shoot this way. And he was like, all right. He said, okay, no problem. So that's a reshoot. I don't like doing a lot of reshoots where you shoot a whole scene and then you got to do the whole thing over again. But that's the kind of stuff you have to do, if you want to have a perfect project, or at least perfect to the best of your ability. You know what I mean?
okay. Okay, and do you know how much the actors get paid, like usually on different films?
It depends on what their agents work out. At the end of the day,
Okay,
like I,
yeah.
like I believe on Iron Man 1, if you heard about this, Terrence Howard got paid more than Robert Downey Jr., who was playing Iron Man. Terrence Howard was a support character, but he got paid more than Robert Downey Jr. because Terrence Howard was a bigger actor than Robert Downey Jr. He was a bigger name and a bigger draw at
Really?
that time.
Okay.
Right, Robert Downey Jr. If you remember, he he had some issues with substance abuse and things like that years ago before he came through with Iron Man. So his name was kind of in the mud. He was like a laugh to a degree. Robert Downey Jr. was like a laughing stock in Hollywood at that time. This is of course pre-internet, but even pre-internet, his name was still in the mud even back then because he was in and out of rehab stuff like that. But he was trying to get his life together, and he was when he made Iron Man. Um, but like I said, Terrence Howard was getting paid more than him because he said, "Look, I'm a bigger name." At the time, Terrence Howard had done a bunch of movies. I think he had done Pride and all kind of stuff. I don't know if he did. What's the movie called? Hustle and Flow or something like that? I think it's called.
Yeah, Hustle and
I,
Flow.
I don't know if he did that before Iron Man, but he did a bunch of things that gave him, the ability to say, look, and his agent to say, look, he deserves more. But when they made Iron Man 2, you notice Terrence Howard wasn't in there because they didn't want to pay him more than Robert Downey Jr. and other reasons also. But that that's kind of why I think that it depends. It depends on what is the budget of the film. It depends on a few things. Like when Robert, what's his name? Robert Townsend made what's the movie called? Hollywood Shuffle. You ever seen that really good movie? Robert Townsend made one of his first major movies, Hollywood Shuffle. No one was paid up front, and he had Paul Mooney in there, Keenan Ivory Wayans. What's the guy to be saying? The pops from the Wayans brothers. I forget his name. But anyway, he was in there. There's a lot of people in that movie, and nobody got paid up front, but they got paid on the back end. When the movie came out, they got paid that way. And it was just wherever the movie pulled in, they would separate it like that, I guess, based on fame and so on and so forth. But it just depends on what the agent really works out at the end of the day, how much you get paid. But the thing is that, like, for example, the woman I was talking about, not trying to belabor this, but like the woman I was talking about who said that she didn't want to do this scene because she didn't want to be typecast essentially as a supporting character only. She's kind of saying it, in my opinion, because she's trying to raise her, her asking price. You know what I mean? If you're saying I want to play the main role, the main lead, and you're always a support character, they be like, well, what rate do you have to ask for, $6 million when you're usually getting paid, $100,000, and now you're going to get paid this amount of money and demand this amount of money? We have nothing else to show for that. We can't do that. You know what I mean? So having those films behind, or like people say in Hollywood, for example, when you get an Oscar, when you win an Oscar and stuff, it raises, you can ask for much more when you get an Oscar. So that's another thing.
Right.
Things like that can help you, ask for more.
Okay, and what about like the lowest budget film that you've ever worked on? Did you know how much those actors were getting paid, or was it just paid in food? Because I know like a lot of people will say like, oh, they just paid us in food.
Yeah, basically that. Yep. I've been working on a few projects in movies where, people got paid. Yep, just like they didn't get paid at all, and they didn't even have a plan to pay the people, in my opinion. But I worked for a few people that I felt were kind of slimy. In my opinion. I'm trying to, I don't want to name them, but I worked with a few people that I felt were definitely just they had ways about it. And I was just like, that's not right. You know what I mean? I worked on one film one time where a guy needed a makeup artist, for example, and the makeup he had a makeup artist, but she had called out for some reason. And he said, Winston, I need a makeup artist right now. And I was like, all right. I got this woman who's actually worked on Hollywood movies in New York, doing like for like zombie movies and stuff like that, doing zombie makeup and stuff. So she's really, really good. So she comes and I told him, I said, but the thing is, you gotta pay her something. You can't just say I'm hit you up later. She's only coming this one day. You gotta pay her something. He said, oh no problem, I got you. So she comes and does all the makeup. Takes a long time to do it. When she's done, after how many hours, she says, listen, I gotta go. Can you tell him to pay me? I said, okay, well, you got the money? He says, oh no, let her know that her name will be in the credits. I almost smacked this guy in the face. I said, her name will be in the credits. What you talking about? You told you you're gonna pay her. I was so in his mind, he's like, oh well, I got you. I got all I need from you. I got you did the makeup. What you gonna do? What you gonna fight me? You know what I mean?
Oh
So I had to pay her.
wow.
I had to pay her right down out of my own pocket. I was so mad. I was like, you must be kidding me. But yeah, so but yeah, I've seen it where people just get paid out of what they paid nothing at all, or they get paid in food. Yep, that can happen. Sometimes it's understandable because sometimes you may not have a budget. You know what I mean? You don't have a budget. Like my movie I'm working on right now, the editors are not paid up front. And I let them know that. You know what I mean? I let them know everyone's gonna be paid out of the profits of the movie. I cannot pay everyone up front. I'm not being paid up front. I've not been given a budget by anybody. Okay. So if you want to do this, you can, and it can help your career. It absolutely can. I tell them where the movie's gonna go. But we're like that right now. We're shooting like that right now. People are coming out, and you'd be surprised how many people will come out and not be paid immediately and be willing to, I was just talking to a woman the other day, who's actually I wasn't talking to her because she actually speaks Spanish only. I tried to talk to her. She hit me up on the email, and I'm like, "Is this so and so?" And she starts speaking Spanish, and then her husband gets on the phone. Her husband picks up, and he's like, "She doesn't speak English that well." I'm like, "Well, X, Y, Z." He's like, "Look, I don't speak English that well." I'm like, "All right, let me get a somebody who knows how to speak Spanish." And I got this guy who was an actor that speaks Spanish, and he got this woman to come, and she said she's available every day of the week. I said, "Wow." She said, "Call me anytime. I'm available. I'm available." And I know a few people like that, so you catch some folks that are like that, and that's a good attitude to have because as long as you're not in a bunch of trash and you're acting your heart out, and you have a mind, not only to work but a mind to be a part of great projects, you can definitely learn a lot and you can definitely go far, in my opinion, for sure.
Okay. And how do you go about casting different actors, and how do you go about like how do they find you?
Great question. We got a lot of good questions, Adrian. I tell you, you got a lot of great questions. Um, how do I go about casting? Okay. On me, and people have different ways that they do this. Me, um, I'm a part of a few Facebook groups where I put out casting calls on there. I was part of film. I've been a part of films before where this is before social media was what it is today, where we would go on certain like websites and put out a casting call. I remember this one guy, he put out a casting call and we had like 50 people in this like auditorium or more. And these were all actors. And I remember that movie, no one was being paid. And these people could act there behind. He had people from theater, all kind of folks. People from like PA, Jersey, New York, like Delaware, all over the area where we are on the East Coast. And I was just like, wow, like you got all these people just from going on his website. But me, like I said, me personally, that's one way you could do it, or you could, like I say, go and have Facebook groups. I also just do word of mouth. I'll put posts up on my own Facebook page, and I'll like for example, my movie has it has a Christian message in it. So because of that, I had a lady hit me the other day and say, "Hey, I tagged this major church in the city about your film because I know you're looking for certain extras." Okay, so I've had people hit me up from a variety of ways, but just you really can't be shy when it comes to trying to get people in your movie. You gotta learn to be me. I'm a director and I'm also one of the casting directors, which is another position. So I mean, it's funny you asked that. I've actually cast people off the street, if you could believe it. I've been
Oh
downtown,
yeah.
seen somebody that I think fits the role. I saw a woman a few weeks ago. Actually, it was the same day I had that incident where those people were called out, what I was telling you about. I saw a young Asian woman downtown, and she had on like almost like an anime outfit. The way she was dressed up, she looked just like someone out of an anime, a Japanese cartoon, and she had such a sleek look. And I said, "Miss, have you ever acted before?" Usually I'll say, "Have you ever acted before?" They may say yes or no. If they say no, I say, "Were you would you ever consider acting?" I always say, "Would you ever consider acting?" They may say, possibly, or they may be excited and say, "Yeah." Some people say, "Oh, I always wanted to act." I casted one guy, for example, he's in the men's shelter. Okay. He's in the men's shelter. That I go to on Sundays because my friend has a ministry at this men's shelter. So I go there sometimes on Sundays to visit. And there's this guy, this real big guy. Okay. Real big guy. And he asked me, he said, "Look, I was talking about the movie, told some of the guys about the movie, and he said, I want to be in the movie. I want to be in the movie." So I was looking at him like, I don't know what I could use him for necessarily. But I said, "Okay, you want to be in the movie?" I said, "Look, if you have a desire to do this, we're gonna make it work. Okay, I'm gonna find use for you somewhere." And the guy came. I had him play as a YouTuber in the movie to help, you know, kind of narrate certain scenes from a YouTuber's point of view. And I come to find after we were done filming it, the guy said they used to do theater in high school. And I was like,
Oh
wow.
wow.
I was directing him, and he was just like so fast. I'm like, look, I need you to say it like this. He would just do it like so quick. I was like, wow, this guy's really good. I was telling my man, I said, you actually one of the best 9 actors that I've actually dealt with. And he says, yeah, he used to act when I was in high school. And the guy was like 35 years old. And I was like, wow. And I don't think he's ever acted since. But he just thought it was really fun. So, like I said, you can't be ashamed. You can't have a pride when it comes to working on a movie in general. You can't have a lot of pride. You have to be willing to do what you have to do to get this stuff done. Okay. When it's time
Hmm.
to cast, you can, man, ask your mom, ask your dad if you think they can fit a part. All right, shoot. Get a cat. I saw a cat the other day. I was about to cast this cat in the movie, okay? Because the cat had a certain look on the cat's face. I'm not making this that the cat got a certain look. I'm gonna have to cast that cat. The cat had an angry look on his face all the time, so I could use that cat. All right. And the cat won't need anything. They're not going, the cat ain't gonna ask for a budget, they ain't gonna ask for no money. You know what I mean, so the cat, they work for
Yeah.
free. They work for free. So it's always a way. I'm telling you, it's always a way. And me personally, I'm a Christian. I believe that God will bring the right people if you're doing the right thing. But in general, I mean, you look at go online, people could, for those watching there in film, go online or trying to get into it, go online and look at the stories of these people that make look at the stories of people that are up and coming or that were up and coming and have actually become big and see how they've gotten some of these actors you would not believe it. From people like Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson has been in more movies than I think anyone else. But the way he got cast, I think was crazy. You know what I mean? And Samuel Jackson was like in his I think late 30s or 40s when he started acting. You know what I mean? There are a ton of actors there. Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford, I believe, was working in construction. You know, and I think someone saw him on the street, if I'm not mistaken, or unless he went to a casting call, and he became Han Solo. You know what I mean? And been all kind of stuff. So I'll see people a lot of times. There are people that I know, for example, that have a certain type of like. There's a woman, for example, in my movie, right? Who I just cast her on a humbug. I just hit her up and I said, "There's a woman I need to be in this movie, right?" And she pulled out at the last minute. So I thought, who can I cast for this role? I need this particular person. So I thought this girl I went to school with, and I'm not close with her at all, but I actually saw her at a fashion show like last year, and I got her number. So I said, let me call her to see if she want to do this. So I had her come out. And then when she came out, she has a personality about her that's just extremely attractive. Like the when she talks, it's just like it makes you want to listen to her just by her talking, just by her. And she's very, very funny. Like it's actually hard to film with her because she's so funny. It's hard not to laugh when she's talking. She's very, very funny. So I was thinking to myself like, and I told them, I said, I don't know why I never thought about casting her before. You're so good. Every time we always have a good time. Because filming can be very, very fun, especially when we're working on something that's good. But like I said, I just thought I just thought of her like out of the blue. I'll tell you one more quick story. I was on Facebook just the other day, looking through Facebook, okay, not looking to cast anybody, all right. And I saw a suggested friend. There was a woman that popped up, and I saw her face. I thought to myself, I could use her. I could probably use her for a movie. I don't know the woman. I'm not her Facebook friend. She's a suggested friend. So I just sent her, I didn't even know I could do this. I sent her a message, not being her friend on Facebook. And she replied, it's a true story. She replied and she says, now I want her page, nothing on her page says she was an actor at all. It was a Hispanic woman, probably like 30 years old. One on her page, saw pictures, I could use her for this part. So she responds maybe some days later and says, I'm interested. She says, no, actually she responded like maybe almost a week later. She says, I'm interested. I just saw your message. I'm interested. So I started talking to her a little bit more, got her number, and she tells me she was in a TUBI movie called Uncle Roscoe's Last Wish or something like that. They had Bruce, and other people in it. It was actually shot here in the city, and I was like, wow. So I went and watched it. Well, I didn't watch the whole thing, but it was a TUBI movie, so I couldn't watch. I couldn't watch the whole thing, but I did see a movie on Tubi that was entertaining recently called Flew It Out. I thought that was okay. If you
Oh
check seen that
wow.
before. Yeah, it's called
Yeah, I
Flew It. That
couldn't
was
get
actually
through that.
oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I stopped after a few minutes. I was like, I can't do this. I was about to do a review on it. I was like, I can't even finish it.
Yeah, I think trust me, it's worth watching. I guarantee you watched it and you can see
Okay.
what I'm talking. I guarantee you'll be like, it's definitely worth putting a review on. I guarantee you that. But I was about to turn on myself because I was like, somebody acted at me like, but something said, give it a little more time. Just watch this to the end, and it definitely was entertaining to say the least. And I also understood what they were trying to say in the movie, so I got a lot of respect for it because of that. But yeah, so I was watching the movie and she was in a few scenes. Man, I'm gonna film with her in a few days. Film her in a few days. And she actually has acting experience. She's been like in like 3 or 4 movies. Okay. Didn't know this girl from nowhere, just saw a picture. So you'd be surprised who you can find when you just, you know, put yourself out there. Sometimes I try to cast people and they laugh at me. Sometimes women think that I'm trying to hit on them. Guys may laugh at me. You know, you get that kind of stuff, but you gotta have a an iron personality, and it's be like, look, at the end of the day, we try and get this done, and I don't care what y'all think, we gonna get this done. You know what I mean? And that's how you get people to come.
Okay. Okay. So where are you based out of?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Okay, so if someone sees you on the street, they're gonna try to get into one of your films, and then
Absolutely.
okay, so and then they can find casting calls on in the Facebook groups, and uh, what else? You said word of mouth is good for how they go about casting people. Yeah,
Yes,
because I know a
Facebook
lot
group.
of people are interested in being an actor and really any kind of movie that they can.
Yeah, there are more ways. There are different casting websites. I can't think of the names in the moment, but they're different. I personally didn't go those routes. Some of those routes they do require you as a person casting to pay a certain fee. Okay, and there's no promise that you're gonna find anybody. Me personally, I don't go those routes, and the reason why is because I'm the kind of person I really want to see somebody in person first. I don't want to be paying a bunch of fees, and then I get a gang of people, and none of them I really want. You know what I mean? I'd rather see somebody in person because somebody can look one way on the phone and look totally different when you see them in person. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I like doing on the spot casting or seeing people and cast them, or if someone tells me my friend can act. I like for example, there's a woman who somebody recommended for me to cast, okay, just recently. And I was like, all right. Um, I started talking to the young woman and I said, let's meet somewhere because I need to see you in person. And she said, let's just meet on Zoom. I said, I'm old school. I need to actually see you in person. She would not do that. She would not do it. She said, unless it's a big casting call, I won't do that. I need this. I don't want to meet anybody, a director in person, this and that. And I said, well, you feel like I'm trying to trick you, whatever. I said, you can bring whoever you want. We can meet in the mall. But I need to see you in person, see your dimensions, see exactly what you look like. Okay. Because I'm the kind of person I believe that you should not just put anybody in any role. You know what I mean? They have to really fit the role. It's been times I've seen movies for example, this is my opinion. Some people may not agree with this, but this is my opinion. If anybody has seen The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger, the Dark Knight. I think it's called the Dark Knight, the second movie in the Batman
Mhm.
Christian Bale series where they had the Joker and stuff. There's this woman in the. If you remember, there's a woman. I can't remember her name. There's a white woman. White woman was playing like the love interest of Bruce Wayne in the first movie, but in the second movie they changed her to someone else because I guess the actor couldn't play that role or whatever. And when they changed her, the second woman who they had play her the way she looked, it just didn't look as appealing, in my opinion, for sure. And she had like no makeup. She had nothing to really make her look extravagant. So there's a scene in the movie where the Joker is kind of teasing her. He's like, and he's basically saying, "Oh, you're so pretty. You're so that." And I'm like, she looks like she just woke up out of bed. She doesn't look made up at all. But you're trying to tell us that, and I'm like, and that's because the script was written for someone else, and y'all switched her out. So that was something when I watched. It just took me right out the film. Uh, Like even the woman's eyes, she just looked tired. She just didn't look, her hair wasn't even done. I was like, well, what are they trying? I couldn't understand it. There's been plenty of times I've seen stuff where people just are in the wrong role. So I really gotta make sure that you fit because when I'm watching something, if something is off like that, you're telling me this person is this person is that, this person's supposed to be a gangster, and they're you look at them like, really, supposed to be a gangster? You know what I mean? Come on, now, like, I don't see that. This guy just came out of church or something like that. And he supposed to be, you know what I mean? So a person, sometimes people can, play certain roles depending on their life experiences, or maybe they just are very, um, they're the actor that can just play anybody. Sometimes people can do that. But and this is like a tip for people that are just starting. When you're just starting, you may not have the luxury of being able to pick people that are great in certain roles. Like sometimes if you want a person to play a gangster, you may want to pick Denzel, because Denzel can play that type of role. Or you can play another type, or you can play a variety of type of roles. You want to pick Brad Pitt for this type of role because he can play this type of role. You don't have that luxury when you're just starting out. So like me, what I've done is I pick people based on their personalities, based on, the qualities that they have. That's another reason why I want to see them in person, so I can talk to them to see who they really are. When I see who they really are, I can understand, all right, or if I question them, I can see, where their tendencies are. Then I can further shape the character based on who they really are. You understand what I'm saying? When you work with trained actors that can do almost anything, you can force like a huge square into a small tiny hole. And they can get into that small tiny hole. They can change to that degree. But if you're working with someone that just can act hood, use them to act hood. Don't try to have them do Shakespeare when all they can do is act hood. You know what I mean? Use them to act hood. And playing around with them, it can be very convincing. In acting, a lot of times, I'm not trying to belabor this, but in acting, there's a certain zone that people have to get into. And that when they start to act, they get into a certain zone where it's almost like they can't miss. They're just sailing, smooth sailing in their performance. So you kind of want to guide people into that. And it's easier when a person is doing something that's not too difficult for them if they're not a trained actor. You understand?
Okay. Okay. So it's people like some trained actors have range, and then you have to pick some people that kind of fit and match the role that you're
Mm-hmm.
looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what advice would you give like up and coming videographers?
Regarding anything in particular, or just advice in general?
Just advice in general, like somebody's at up and coming, like what's something that you're glad that you did that you're able to
Okay.
now get onto different projects and
Okay.
be at the level you're at?
I would say it's funny. I was just at a career link last week filming someone, and there was a guy that came up to me and he said, I got a camera at home. And I'm saying, you asked the movie plug asks great questions, y'all. Y'all gotta get on this shit. The movie plug asks great questions. Yeah, I was Adrian asked great questions. I was just at his career link and this guy asked me, he said, what should I do? He said, I got a camera at home. And I said, hey buddy, you need to get out. I've been doing this since like 2005. I said, you need to get out, you need to film. You gotta shoot something. Don't wait for someone to call you to do project. Get out and start shooting stuff. Okay. Do what you can. Now, when I first started, I was shooting this fake 24 spinoff called Boom TV. And I played like a nerdy guy. When I was growing up, people used to always say that I reminded them of Steve Urkel of Family Matters. So I said I'll play a character like a nerdy guy like Steve Urkel. People keep saying I remind them of him, so I'll do that. You know what I mean? And I was real clumsy and doing stupid stuff and arresting the wrong folks and stuff. And I was just something we put on YouTube, but everyone that saw it liked it. Everyone I sent to, they laughed at it, they liked it. So me and my friends kind of had fun with that. I used to do a lot of stuff, but we did something on our own. But what happened is that it caused us to have experience, because you need experience. A lot of people that you see, not everyone, but a lot of people that you see on Tubi, the reason why their films are bad is because they don't have a lot of experience filming. So when they're shooting a film on Tubi, that's like their first time shooting a film, or it's their first time in front of a camera for a long period of time. So there are a bunch of errors in the movie and a bunch of issues that you many times can see.
Yeah.
If you check out that TikTok and where else Adrian is, because that's how I found her on that TikTok page, and that thing, it was called I Heart Tubi, something like that.
Yeah, I heart Tubi movies, yes.
Yeah, I Heart Tubi movies is one of my favorite pages, if not my favorite page on TikTok. I'll go on TikTok and type and search that name to see what is she every few days, just to see what she pulled. I'm gonna look at her once I get off here, actually. I'm all jokes aside, to see which movie she pulled up.
Yeah, you should see the latest one. It's real wild.
Okay, this stuff
Yeah.
be having me crying. This stuff be having me crying. That stuff be having me crying laughing. But one day after she can blow up just off of that alone. I don't know why you're not bigger. People need. I don't know. TikTok must be sleeping on you. But yeah. So what was you talking about again? Oh, you were talking about the advice I would give. Yeah. So
Yeah.
get experience. Film, film, film. The brother asked me. He said, "Well, what if I film with my camera and I'm by myself? You know, I don't want to get robbed at XYZ because our city has a higher than normal crime rate, XYZ, all that kind of stuff." I was like, "Look, man," I said, "go in public places, go where it's a lot of people at, film there." You know what I mean? Um, I was like, end of the day, something can happen to you just walking out the house. You know what I mean? But just go out, excuse me, just go out and film where you can. Film your relatives, film your friends. Think of stories because there are a variety of mistakes that you can make when you're filming, and when you are out getting experience, you're reducing, you're working out those kinks. You know what I mean? So when you shoot a movie, like when we started shooting this movie, I knew we were ready to do it because I've been shooting for such a long time. I knew that I could do it. When I approached people years ago about making a film, I knew that I could do it because I had such experience. I used to shoot a church, for example, for 5 or 6 years. And in this church, it used to be a bar. And it had, for some reason, it used to be a bar. For some reason, there was like two different rooms, I guess, because it used to be a bar or whatever. So it was two different rooms. So the people would be preaching, and most churches, they stand behind a pulpit. This church, it was like a father and son thing where it was like the father was a bishop, then they had two sons, and they all were preaching on different Sundays, and they all would move in different ways. And one son would only stand behind the pulpit. I was like, this is gonna be an easy day. Then the other guy would come, and he would be moving from room to room, from room to room. So I would have to be following him. Then there was a father who would be like a combination of standing behind the pulpit and moving around the room. So I'm like, I'm doing all this kind of stuff, and I'm coming home. I'm looking at the footage. I'm editing the footage, and it gave me a ton of experience. I shot performing art schools for many years, all kinds of stuff. I've even done stuff where I will film someone and then turn them into a cartoon. All kinds of stuff. Sometimes people want that type of stuff. So all of those things help you. I'm gonna tell you guys why. The reason why is because when you when you're doing these things, unless you enter into your perfect movie maker self, in my opinion, there are things that each artist has that nobody else has. There are things that Chris Brown can do, or that Rihanna. I don't know. I'm saying Chris Brown, Rihanna, but Chris Brown can do, Rihanna can do. Whoever, Celine Dion can do. Each singer or artist, whatever. There are things that each one of them can do. That there are certain things that they have, certain attributes that they have, certain skills that they have that no one else has. And it's the same thing with you as a filmmaker. There are things that Spike Lee has, that Martin Scorsese has, that Steven Spielberg has. There are different things that they know how to do, but they've figured out their strengths because they have experience and because they were in the field. There's a guy named Zack Snyder, for example, who's as a director I kind of like, and he used a lot of slow mo. But the reason why he uses a lot of slow mo is because he used to shoot commercials for like 10 something years. So he wasn't working as a major film director. He was doing commercials for Coca-Cola and stuff like that. And from there, he got a lot of experience. So when he was asked to do a movie, he said, well, all I've ever shot is commercials. And he kind of transitioned some of that stuff. And then he ended up filming Watchmen. And he ended up doing, Man of Steel and stuff like that. And he made some good money from those films because he had experience doing something as small as doing commercials, as people would say. So get experience. If no one calls you, um, get experience. Create an opportunity for yourself. I went on a guy's Facebook today, for example, and the whole Facebook page said something like actor looking to be cast. His name was actually like actor looking to be cast. And I'm like, okay, I'll look at him. And I said, you're acting looking to be cast. And he was like, look, I'm not waiting for somebody to, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to put myself on front screen. So I know that's from the editor's point of view, but just as a movie maker, get experience. I'll say one last thing too about that. One thing I notice a lot that people do nowadays is they have a lot of camera gear. If you look at the behind the scenes, a lot of movies, upcoming movies, even movies on Tubi and whatnot, a lot of people have a lot of camera gear. They have gear that allows the camera to spin in 1,000 different ways. You don't really need all of that. What you need is experience. Learn how to hold a camera. learn how to do what I call the camera dance, where you're able to hold a camera or hold a monopod, which is like a tripod, which was just like a pole. Learn how to hold these things so that you can move with them and not have a bunch of shaky, unwanted movements. Okay, get that experience first. That's what I got working at all these churches and these jobs, and they pay a lot. I learned how to, hold cameras and do different things a lot of people want to be able to do, and that gave me a lot of experience, so that when I'm filming, I can do almost anything. I don't need to have thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Though I have $1,000 worth of equipment, I don't need to use all that kind of stuff to assist me being a cameraman, because I have experience. Just I started on small cameras. I started on small camcorders like this big. When my first camera that I had was a camera that I was given in college. Then I remember I ain't filmed for a few years. Then my aunt gave me a little small little um camera. She's like gave me, like, she actually loaned it to me, okay? Because I think I told her I wanted to shoot a show, so she gave me that. And I still did not have own my own camera. And then I'm just telling you how I worked my way up. I remember one day I was using small little cameras, shooting different things. I was making good money actually shooting with little camcorders, shooting people's events and stuff. And then one day I was on Facebook Marketplace and I saw the big camera, nice like news type camera, and it was like $500. I didn't have it, so I hit my man up and I said, "Look, man, if you give me this $500, I promise you." I said, "I promise you, I'll pay you back with interest." And he said, "All right." And then like 2 days later, gave me the money. I paid him back with interest, just like I said. Came with a big camera and all this equipment. Somebody had passed away, I think, and I got some equipment from them, and it was like a deal of a century. And from there, I bought other cameras and stuff. So you just work your way up. Don't say I don't have this, I don't have that. Work with what you have. Even if you just have your phone, work with that. You know what I mean? And if you need something, don't be afraid to ask. Okay? There's no embarrassment or shame in this game.
Okay.
That's that.
Okay, so what would you recommend? What's the best camera you've ever used?
The best camera I've ever used is a camera called the JVC GY LS300. I like JVC cameras. They're usually TV cameras, but I like them. I also like Panasonic cameras. I like Panasonic cameras a lot. Sony, and Panasonic cameras. Um, I like shooting with video cameras. Some people like to use DSLR cameras, which are used more for photography. I personally don't like using them, but if that's what you're training, do what you're comfortable with. I personally would not recommend that, because video cameras are meant more for video and they have more abilities. It's just a variety of reasons why you would rather, in my opinion, you should use them. But the JVC GYLS 300 is a cheaper camera, but it can shoot just like any Hollywood camera. It can take almost any lens, um, and it shoots in low lights. You can shoot at nighttime, you can shoot during daytime. Great if you just adjust certain things on the camera. Great camera. Cameras less than $5,000. A lot of people are going for these red cameras, and these cameras are 15 grand and 20. You can, if you want to get that, you can, but you don't have to get there. It's always a cheaper way. So you know, don't sit back and say, "Oh, I don't have the red so and so or whatever." You don't have to get that. Get look and see what's affordable. And just because something's cheaper doesn't mean that it's not good. You know.
Okay, okay. And what are your up and coming projects and what's like the storyline for those up and coming projects?
Okay, right now we have this movie that I mentioned earlier called The Golden Dragonfly. Uh, that's going to be out 2025. Outside of that, I have a animated movie called Shade Silver, which I'm working on for over 4 years. That'll be coming out. I can't say when, because my company is called Open Hands Art and Animation. So we do many forms of art and animation. I'm also an animator and a comic book artist. Okay, which actually helps a lot with doing movies, knowing how to draw comic books and stuff. But especially with storyboarding and things like that. But my movie, The Golden Dragonfly, is a film coming out in 2025. It's about a man named Rico. You can see the trailer, the teaser trailer right now. The trailer will be out in like probably by sometime in November. But we have a teaser trailer that's probably like a minute long that's out right now. It's about a man named Rico. He was a martial artist in the city of Philadelphia, a martial arts teacher, and because of the recession and things like that, he lost a lot of his students. His students could not afford his rates. So he ends up meeting a guy who's played by me. I play a guy who's involved with a criminal syndicate, and I basically draw him in. I say, "Hey, man, you want to work for me? I see that he's in need of money." I say, "You want to work with me? I just need you to do a simple job." He does the job. He gets paid a couple grand. That's like life changing money for him because he has to pay his mortgage, and he doesn't know what he's going to do. From there, I kind of lead him down this dark rabbit hole. Um, and the movie is essentially him having to choose between darkness and light, God and the devil. Essentially, is what the movie is about. It's a movie with a Christian with a godly message in it, but it's coming from a different point of view. It's a movie that's not necessarily set in a church, but it's more so kind of like the Born Identity in a way that it's government stuff going on. Group that we work with, we do is we get like in the movie, I should say, the criminal syndicate. What we do is we go on the dark web and we get contracts to do dirty jobs essentially. Okay, which may be to convince a council member to do something that they don't want to do, to just do different things. Maybe set something on fire, just do certain things to adjust certain things in society that we're paid to do that people may not know. That's kind of what we do. It's dirty stuff, it's underhanded stuff. And he's basically involved in that. And it's much more to it than that, but I don't want to give too much away. But that's what I'm working on right now. And then the movie Shade Silver is a cartoon. I don't give too much about that. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's in the superhero genre. I'll say that. But that's going to be really, really cool. So we've already started animating on that film, but that'll come out after this movie comes out. And my attention is now all on the Golden Dragonfly. Why it's called the Golden Dragonfly, I can't even tell you guys right now. But when you watch the movie, you will understand why it's called the Golden Dragonfly for sure.
Okay, and what platforms can they find that on
It should be in
when it
theaters.
comes out?
It should be in theaters and whatever streaming we can get it on. Okay, I can't say for sure right now because we have to actually we're still filming, so I can't say it's going to be on Netflix or wherever right now because they have to actually see it to be able to approve that.
Oh,
Okay, so when once that's all this stuff will be revealed will be answered through our YouTube page, which is one word, Open Hands Art. If you go on and type in Open Hands Art, you'll see a logo that looks like blue hands in a white circle. Um, when that stuff comes forth, we'll put all that stuff online. But we're aiming to get it on theaters, like I said earlier, in every theater we can get it in, and then from there, to every streaming platform we get it on. So that's Hulu, Netflix, HBO Max, wherever, even your beloved TUBI, iHeart TUBI, even TUBI, even there.
okay, okay. And then where can they find you? Like, what's your YouTube? What's your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? Any information how they can find you, or where they can just find you on the streets in Philadelphia so they can get, casted.
Well, you can email me at open hands. That's open hands of S, openhandsart@gmail.com. If you want to be involved with a project or if you have a project idea. If you have a project idea, make sure you don't tell me everything because you don't know. If you don't know, I'll tell to everyone. If you don't know someone personally, even if you know personally, don't tell them your whole idea. I have people try to tell me their whole entire movie from beginning to end. Don't do that because someone can try to steal your idea. But you can email me if you have an idea. I'm trying to start working on TV shows next. Also, I want to do that. Work on a show, a series. But you can see me on YouTube. I have a YouTube page, Open Hands Art. That's one word, all lowercase. Open Hands Art. That's our YouTube page. I'm not on. We do have an Open Hands Art Instagram, but I'm not on Instagram that much. I don't think we have an Open Hands Art TikTok. We're gonna make one soon though. Um, and that's probably it. We have Open Hands Art Facebook, but I'm not on there that much. I'm not gonna lie. But the best way to get contact me is through email, openhandsart@gmail.com. I check that every single day.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Well, thank you for coming on to the I Heart Tubi Movie podcast. I
Thank
definitely
you.
appreciate you. Okay, and we're hoping to see your movies in the future. And also, what are some movies they can check out that are currently streaming?
What movies that are out that I made, or
Yeah.
just the ones that I don't have any there that are streaming right now. Yeah, like I said, some of the stuff
Okay.
I worked on has been stuff that's been even before streaming. I ain't going or like years ago, or just not when the only apps that were out were Netflix and Hulu. So There may be something that I worked on that streaming, but I personally don't know if it is or not. I'm sorry to say that, but it's so that I probably worked on that streaming. I'll have to actually find. But yeah, I'm sorry I can't say at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Well, once again, thanks for coming on.
Mhm.
You have a good day and hope to see you in the future.
Okay, and I'll continue to watch you on TikTok at iHeartTubi Movies.
Yes.
Adrian, thanks for having me on, and hope to see you again. Take care.
Okay, take care.